Today we are in Eagle, Idaho, one of Boise, Idaho's top suburbs. Today we're giving you a full breakdown of what it is actually like to live in Eagle, Idaho. We are driving around to actually show you so you can feel what it likes to live here, but this is much more than a driving tour. You're gonna find out if Eagle, Idaho is actually gonna be for you. We're gonna drive through some of the new communities, the most popular areas. You're gonna get to see actual drive times, the amenities, everything that comes with Eagle, Idaho. And not only are we gonna be talking to you about everything you need to know about Eagle, Idaho, but we're actually gonna be showing you it. So if you are thinking about or are moving to Boise, Idaho, choosing the suburb of Boise is the most important part of your decision. So we're gonna dive deep into Eagle, Idaho to see if it is the right or wrong suburb for you. Okay, now we're standing in Meridian right now actually, so we'll talk to you about that why. But first, this is a channel for those of you who are moving to Boise, Idaho. I'm a real estate agent, so I can help you guys move here, buy a house, sell a house, but I'm also a Boise local, so I have lots of knowledge living here my whole life, the ins and outs. I actually grew up in this area that we're standing. And if you reach out to me, you actually get me. I'm not gonna pass you off to any other agent. I work with all of my clients. If you guys watch all of my videos and you build that trust with me, then you deserve to work with me. And I'm not just a transactional real estate agent. I want what's best for you guys. If Boise's not the right fit for you, I want you guys to know that. If there's a house or an area that's not right for you, I want you guys to know that. So know that's what you get with this channel. So subscribe so you guys don't miss anything. But let's get into the video. So I said we're standing in Meridian and I want to talk to you guys about why. So I have Fred Meyer behind me on this side. Behind you guys is the Winco. And then over to the right about a mile that you guys won't be able to see is Costco. And there's lots of restaurants surrounding all of these different grocery stores. This is North Meridian, so we're right on the border of Eagle. Just on the other side of this Fred Meyer is where Eagle starts. And I wanted to start you guys out here so that you guys can get a real-time drive for what it would look like to go to the grocery store if you lived in the newest and most popular parts of Eagle, for especially those of you moving here and buying houses. So wanted you guys to see this. You have the Fred Meyers here, the Winco's there, you have Olive Garden over there. Mo Betta's is a Hawaiian food place, which is my absolute favorite. You have Homestead, which is really nice bar and grill. There's Starbucks here. There's chicken places, there's Costco. All of that is right in this area. It's a really big hub for everything that you would need. And now we're gonna hop in the car and start heading to this new construction area, and then just keep in mind it'll be real time. So as you guys see me in this video is how long it will take to get to all of these really popular communities that we're gonna drive you through. So let's jump in the car. Okay, now we're in the car. Fred Meyer's behind you guys. There's Taco Bell right there. We're gonna get out on the main road. This road over here is gonna be Linda Road, which takes you into Eagle. And as we're getting on the road and heading to these popular neighborhoods out here in Eagle, just wanna talk to you guys and show you what this area looks like and give you insights into what it was like growing up here. So went to high school down the road at Rocky Mountain. And so like Fred Meyer, all these restaurants around here, just spent a ton of time with friends, eating here, hanging out. I feel like in high school in Boise, you don't really leave the few mile radius that you're in. And then another good point that we're coming up here on the left is you guys are gonna see a Mormon temple. And I don't talk about this on the channel that often, but it is a part of living in Boise. There is a very large Mormon population here. And so going to high school right down the road, on the varsity basketball team my senior year, there was 6 of my friends and teammates who were Mormon out of the 12 of us. So half the team was Mormon. It's something good to know about. But one thing that people might think is they think of Utah and how apparent it is in the Salt Lake area, where I have family that used to live there, and it's into the politics, it's into the culture. My stepmom tells me stories of her not being able to get a job because she wasn't Mormon when she lived in Salt Lake. Whereas in Boise, you don't really notice it other than seeing the temples and seeing the churches. And so just wanted to touch on that because it is a part of Boise everywhere. It's not just Eagle or Meridian. So touch on that. Now we've come down the hill. Now we're officially in Eagle, Idaho. Off to the left is Three Rivers, which is like a private, it's a state with huge lakes. And for those of you who fish, it has some of the biggest bass if you can get access into there. but just really pretty driving through here. We crossed over one section of the Boise River that you guys probably didn't really see because it's kind of hidden. And then we're coming up on a second part of the Boise River, which with Eagle, this is just one of the big benefits. And at the end of this video, we're gonna save part of the best part of Eagle for the end, where we're gonna walk you guys through downtown, show you the outdoor amenities and experiences that Eagle has. We're gonna talk about all of those things, walk the greenbelt, and I wanted to save it for the end and show you guys why it is the best part of Eagle. It's so good that I actually proposed to my wife in Eagle on the river, and I'll show you guys where when we get there at the end of the video, and we'll pop up a photo for now of the proposal so you guys can get a little glimpse. Now we're heading to, so we're about to cross Highway 55, and if you take a right, it takes you into downtown Eagle area, and it actually gets you all the way to Boise, the downtown area. If you hang a left, it'll get you into Star, Idaho here pretty quickly, but I'm gonna go straight because I, again, wanna show you guys the distance that it will take to get from all of the amenities and stores that most of you guys would be utilizing if you ended up moving to Eagle. So you can see drive times, and you can see we're now into some of the communities. The ones off to the left here are older communities, so it would be resale homes. But if you bought in here, then wherever we're at in the video right now is about how long of a drive it is, which, as you guys could see, it was about 4 or 5 minutes. It's just right down the street into North Meridian. So you have a number of different communities in Eagle, and you guys will see as we get into some more of these new communities that we're heading to, one of them being the best landscaping in all of Boise, Idaho. I'm excited to drive through this community with you. But you also have these communities that we just drove through off the left that we're not going to drive through, but older homes, smaller homes, not luxury builders like a lot of Eagle is. And so even though Eagle is way more expensive, and we'll dive into more detail once we get into some of these communities, you still do have more affordable options in the 500,000-600,000 range. And so it is attainable to get into Eagle, into some of these communities that we're driving in right now. But then once we get up to this stop sign here in a little bit, we're gonna start getting into the newer section of Eagle. So this first section will be a lot of new construction homes, a lot of new communities, a lot of the most popular communities for people moving here, especially if you want a newer home. And then at the end, after we go through downtown, I want to take you guys through the most prestigious, the most desirable, older part of Eagle, where really everybody wants to live in the Boise area because it is truly outstanding. It has really mature landscaping. So we'll take a look at that at the end. But right now we're coming up on, to our left, I'm going to drive you through Legacy, which is a really popular community. Right here you guys can see the homestead sign. So it's another newer community. And those homes have more luxury, so they're going to be more expensive. They're going to be a little bit larger lots, but they're not going to be half-acre lots. They're going to be 8,000 square feet to just over a quarter of an acre with really nice homes in those. And then I want to drive you guys through Legacy because it is one of the most talked about, but also just one of the most beautiful landscaped communities, and give you guys an idea of some of these homes and style of homes and style of communities. And you can just see from the entrance into Legacy just how nice the entrance even is. And throughout this video, as I mentioned in the intro, we're still going to go over the culture here, what it's like living here. I, of course, am going to go through the cons, and I'm going to talk about specifically if you are a certain type of person, Eagle will not be the best fit for you. So we'll talk about that later. But driving into Legacy, you guys can see off to the right is a private 3-hole golf course. So you have, I think, 3 or 4 holes that you have just for the community, which is amazing. And as we're driving, just keep an eye out for the landscaping. We're not to the best part, but love the landscaping here. One thing I love about Legacy is this community is absolutely outstanding, but they give you multiple opportunities. So you have your 4,000 square foot homes in here for $2 million. And you also have small alley load or townhomes or smaller homes in the 400,000 and 500,000 range. So you get a wide range of opportunities here that you can live in. And through the drone shots, you guys will see, but There's lakes all over Legacy, so you can live on the water, or you can paddleboard, you can fish, you can have just that waterfront view. It's just a beautiful community to live in, and the price range, to be able to be in all of the different price ranges, is great. The only downside is now you really can't build new construction in here. There's not any lots left, which is why this developer actually developed a community just a mile down the road that is called TerraView. And TerraView is going to be almost identical to Legacy over the years, but there is new construction opportunity right now. The only downside is in TerraView, there's really only $1 million plus homes in there, at least for the start. So there is opportunity for a similar style community, but right here off the stop sign, you guys kind of get to start seeing the landscaping, the waterfront properties. And yes, Legacy is one of the top communities, some of the best landscaping, and I personally think the best, but this is a theme throughout all of Eagle, Idaho. So it's not just this community that has the same feel and style. There's a number of them that have a very, very similar style. And the landscaping here in Legacy, they also change it out per season. So throughout the entire year, there's always landscaping, and they're always replacing all of the plants, all of the flowers to match what season it is, which is pretty crazy. The landscaping bill here, I do not want to know how much that is per month. It's absolutely insane. So wanted to drive you guys through Legacy and show you this. Okay, now enough about Legacy. Of course, want to dive into just Eagle, Idaho as a whole too. So keeping it housing related, some of the cons of Eagle is that the housing is really expensive. So not only is it expensive even for some of the smaller homes in different parts of Eagle, but for the most part, a lot of the developments in Eagle are homes like this, because when you get to a certain price point for a suburb, the land gets so expensive that the only way builders can really make money is if they are building $1 million+ homes. And so unfortunately, unless you want to buy resale homes, you really can't buy a new construction home that is smaller, which makes the entire suburb look very similar, and it only fits a very certain criteria for people moving here. You have to have a very specific type of home that you want to live in Eagle, which is definitely a con. Like if you're somebody who really just wants a 1,600 square foot new construction home and you don't want to pay more than $600,000, Eagle is just not going to work for you guys. If you're okay with resale, there's some opportunity there. But for the most part, Eagle is pretty much for people who have a budget of $600,000 and up. And I'd say realistically, most people, it's going to be $750,000 and up if you're okay with the smaller lot. If you guys want a 1/4 acre or 1/2 acre, which we're going to drive through a community here in a second that has those, you're basically at $1 million starting price point if you want that 1/4 acre, 1/2 acre lot. And this is just the way that Eagle is. And so it is a con of it. It's also part of the pros though, is because you guys get to see how beautiful the homes are here, how awesome the communities are. And then also it just makes Eagle really safe. Eagle is, I think, the most safe community or suburb in the Boise area. Part of that is because it is higher end, which obviously makes sense. And then part of it might be because I think we have the highest population of retired California police and firefighters in the entire country in just Eagle. So many of them moved to Eagle specifically, especially before the big boom in Boise happened and it was more affordable in Eagle. I know people who moved here and they know like hundreds of just retired police officers from California that moved to Eagle specifically. So if you're someone trying to rob a house and you break into someone's house in Eagle, odds are they're a retired cop or sheriff, and you're gonna mess around and find out, right? Yeah, so part of why it's safe. Now we're gonna drive through one of these communities, but wanted to get you guys out to the foothills of Eagle. So Valnova, you guys have heard me talk about, or if you haven't, I'd go back and watch the video after this one. It's just over the hill there. So this road to the right, Linda, that we came up on will eventually connect to Valnova. And then just to our left that you guys saw was TerraView. So you do get the foothills in Eagle, and this is one of the, I guess, other points that I constantly have a conversation with people moving here, where I always say picking the suburb is the most important part, and one of the easiest ways to do this is Star, Eagle, Idaho, and Kuna are often a debate. And I always say, are you a person that wants the Boise River, you want a lot of trees and greenery, and you want the foothills, and you like to do a lot of outdoor activities? If you're somebody that really wants those things, Eagle and Star and Middleton and Boise are going to be the ones, but Eagle, Idaho is the top out of all of those. If you could care less about those things, then Kuna and Meridian and the other suburbs are something that's going to work for you. But this is just the benefit of Eagle, is you get the foothills and the Boise River. Now I'm going to quickly just drive you guys through Staggs Crossing. So this is another community that is definitely on the top of people's list for moving to Eagle. And these lots are a lot bigger. You do get up to half-acre lots in here, and you have a lot of high-end builders in here. So this is a good opportunity to talk about Eagle, but it also applies to the entire Boise area. But anytime you get in these nicer mid-luxury or luxury communities, you always have 4 to 5, sometimes even 7 and 8 different builders. And so as you can see, driving through this community, you get a wide variety of look. So it's not track homes, it's not the same home over and over. You get all the different styles in one community, which is something that you get way more in Eagle than you get in other other suburbs. So something just to touch on there. But this is Staggs Crossing. You can see beautiful homes. The lowest price in here is $1 million, and this can apply to pretty much everything in Eagle. Right next door is Homestead, which is the same exact way. Pretty much every home in there is over $900,000, and that's because they're resale homes. And so wanted to drive you through here quickly to just give you another community to kind of add to the list, to start getting the feel of Eagle, which is why we started doing this series of actually driving you through and showing you what it would actually feel like and look like to live in these suburbs of Boise. Because driving through them, as I can talk you through some of the things, actually gives you a feel, and that's really the only way to actually get what it feels like to live in these suburbs. And it truly is the most important part of your move to Boise, is understanding what each suburb and location would feel like. Because the homes, you can pretty much find everywhere. Yes, Eagle, Idaho is going to have more luxury communities. They're going to have ones like Staggs Crossing or Legacy that we drove through, or some of the top ones that we're going to drive through at the end of this video. But all of these builders pretty much build in every suburb. So a lot of these builders are in Star, they're in Eagle, they're in Boise. Some of them are in Kuna too. So the housing part of it is a little bit easier. The more important part is asking yourself questions like, is the Boise River, is the foothills, is the outdoor activities, is the style of that suburb important to me? Are those things that I need? And then taking the next step and finding a home in that area. So wanted to drive you through there, and then also keep in mind how long we've been driving, and then you can see where we're at in the video, and that's how long it took to get to Costco and Fred Meyer and all of that city center in Meridian. You know, minus a few minutes for me talking a little extra and driving a little extra. But now gonna just kind of drive through the back part of Eagle to give you guys an idea of what the bulk of Eagle feels like just driving around. And as we're doing that, I'll talk to you guys about more of the personal, emotional side of Eagle. So things like the lifestyle here, what are the people like here, what are the taxes like here, what encompasses outside of the housing and the amenities and things like that. So obviously the price point being higher, I always call Eagle kind of the Beverly Hills of Boise. You do get a certain type of person. Obviously people in Boise are still amazing, but you are going to see more G-Wagons out here. You are going to see more wealthy people out here, and you can get a little bit of an, not attitude, but a personality type with that in Eagle. And I'm saying that from experience growing up here. I'd say as an adult, you don't notice it nearly as much. And for some people, you guys could care less, but for some people, this is actually an important topic. But growing up, even being friends with people not Eagle, or like Eagle High School was our rival. There was a little bit of that, like looking down on us from Meridian and Rocky Mountain. And it's a small point, but want to show you guys everything and every aspect of every suburb. The other side of it is the safety and just the people who live here, the lifestyle. So a lot of times when we look at Star, Idaho or Kuna, Idaho, you get a really, really conservative side of Boise. Whereas Eagle, it's a little bit more of a mesh. It's still very conservative, especially when I talk about, all the retired police officers and firefighters and things like that. But you do get a little bit more of a mesh with higher income earners, people from Boise. So you do get a mix of the conservative and the liberal side of people living here. And I talk about this a lot because you guys who are moving here, there's a reason you're moving here. And 95% of you that I talk to, it's because you're political refugees, you want to move from California or Oregon or Washington because of the politics. And so it's important to know which suburb is going to have more of what. And so Eagle's more conservative, but not as conservative as Star or Kuna. When it comes to the taxes, cost of living outside of houses, Eagle is going to be on the higher end when it comes to suburbs. So your tax rate is going to be higher than Kuna and Star, which have the lowest tax rate, but it's still going to be a little bit lower than Boise. And the reason for that is if you just look up taxes for Ada County, which is where all these suburbs are, it'll be roughly 1%. But when you go into each city, it adjusts because of the school district's levies. And so Eagle has just under 1% to 1%, whereas in the city of Boise, a lot of those are above 1%, so 1.1 to 1.2%. And as you guys can see, we've been driving through Eagle. We're not far from the main roads in Eagle, but you get all this farmland. There's a lot of communities that we've been driving by that have half-acre or acre lots. They're small infill communities with 10 to 20 homes. You also get the just straight up farmhouses out here. To your left over there, you guys won't be able to see it, but there is some wineries out in the foothills. You do have access to BLM land if you just take Eagle Road. You can go up into the canyons. I remember as a kid, the Eagle Canyons, just 5 minutes away, we'd take glow sticks and put glow sticks all over our golf balls and then hit them into the canyon at night. So just fun things to do as a kid. And there's lots of things like that. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the Boise River and talk about a lot of the outdoor amenities. I've touched on them a little bit, but there's more that comes with that. And now we're kind of heading into the more community side of things. So you're going to start seeing a lot more trees, a lot more developed communities on either side of the road. And this is what I would say is the older part of Eagle. So when I was growing up, these were the new construction communities. These were the communities that are now older. So they're now 10 plus years old. They're more established. You get more mature landscaping. But you're really close to downtown Eagle, and you guys will see here in a little bit because we're going to hang a right and we're going to go right into Eagle downtown area. And so you guys will see how all of these communities in this area that we're driving by right now are all super close to downtown Eagle. And then eventually in this video, we'll show you how close it is to Meridian, the village, and then all of the amenities that Boise has to offer. And I'll use this right now as an opportunity to talk about just where we're at, the location, distance to hospitals, Boise, where you might be working. So Eagle is a lot closer to downtown Boise than really any other suburb than maybe Meridian. So from where we're at right now, around the downtown area, you're about 15-ish minutes into downtown Boise. To Star, you're right next door, so you're about 5 to 10 minutes into Star. You're 5 minutes to the foothills. There is a hospital in Eagle itself, so when we get to downtown, we'll be driving right by the hospital, but it's not a big hospital. So if you want to go to the bigger hospitals with more of the services that you guys might need, you'd have to go either into Meridian or Boise, which would only be about a 10 to 15 minute drive. So really close to the hospitals in Eagle, and we're getting stopped by construction right now, which is actually a good opportunity to talk about that. So Eagle, I'd say honestly, has less construction than other suburbs. Boise as a whole, it's a problem, but especially in this area of Eagle, a lot of the roads have been developed. There's really not any new population growth in the main part where we're at now versus where we started the video, but construction is a problem. Traffic is a problem in Eagle when you go down Eagle Road, it being the most traffic in the entire state is on Eagle Road, and then Highway 55 that runs through Eagle. Also, you just get all of the people that have to commute into Star and Middleton, they have to drive through Eagle, and so you get a lot of traffic coming in and out of Eagle that is not from the people who live here, which can be a problem. And like you guys are seeing live in this video, it can cause problems for your commutes, and so it's just a part of living in Boise, but Eagle definitely has it left and less than the other suburbs. So we're gonna just fast forward to getting into downtown Eagle. That way you guys aren't just sitting here watching us drive through the rest of these communities, and then we'll pick up in some of the downtown area, some of the communities around there. Okay, now we're back. And it's actually great because I get to show you, so just over to the left right there is Dry Creek Ranch, which is one of the coolest and most desirable communities in all of Boise, but it's just outside of Eagle. And now you guys get to see actual drive time of what it would be like to live in Dry Creek Ranch, and then drive into some of the other amenities of Eagle. So we'll get to show you a little bit of both. And then for reference later, when we talk about some of the outdoor communities, Eagle Bike Park, and there's a lot of walking trails just to the left here in the foothills. So just keep that in mind for later when we talk about the outdoor activities. But right now, this highway takes you to McCall, it takes you to Dry Creek Ranch, Hidden Springs. Avamore is another really popular community out here. And it's gonna take us into the other amenities that you would be using in Eagle as far as grocery stores and restaurants. And for those of you who live in Eagle in this main section, so this last part we drove through and around the downtown area, these are the grocery stores and amenities that you would most likely be using because you don't necessarily want to drive all the way into North Meridian when you have it kind of right next door. And so we'll head into Eagle as we do that. And right now on the left side is Boise and on the right side is Eagle, so you're kind of right on the border, but it's a quick drive into the Eagle area. You have a golf course off to the right that you won't be able to see. Hidden Springs that you guys saw a little bit earlier has a golf course right next to it. And then as we head into Eagle, one thing that is nice along the Boise River is the homes are more expensive, but you do actually have access to townhomes, smaller communities along the Boise River. And it's one of the few spots along the Boise River that you can get smaller homes like that. And then downtown Eagle, when we get there, you guys will see you actually get condos now, which is absolutely great. And up here on the left is Winco, Home Depot. There's a few restaurants in there. So that's like one of the restaurants. And for those of you who don't know what Winco is, it's a popular grocery store out here. You do have to pay with a debit card or cash, so you can't use a credit card. But it is probably the most affordable grocery store in the Boise area outside of Costco, and even sometimes Costco doesn't really beat out Winco here. And then this is where you start getting to State Street and the Boise River. And so as we get to State Street, just want to touch on, I guess, some of the other important things to know about Eagle and the other suburbs. One of those I'll touch quickly on is the schooling. So Eagle has some of the best schools as far as public schools go. They have really good education compared to Meridian, Nampa, Caldwell. There's also a lot of really cool private schools out here. One of them is my favorite. It's called Innovate Academy. They do a lot of entrepreneur stuff, so you get real money, you get You have to rent your desk at the beginning of the year. You can eventually buy it. You can buy other people's desks and then rent those desks out to other students. So cool stuff like that. They did like their end of year project with Shark Tank. So just a little bit on schooling to know about. The other thing with Eagle is if you're somebody who wants the nicer homes, the Boise River, the foothills, but you also want to be close to everything, Eagle is one of the only 2 suburbs that's truly close to all of the amenities that Boise has to offer. So you're about 10 minutes to the Village and Meridian. Like I said, you're 15 minutes to Boise downtown area. But if you're somebody who wants space, you want more peace and quiet, the areas around downtown Eagle is just not the best. As you guys can see, it's 10:52 a.m. on a Tuesday, and it's not like it's horrible traffic, but there is people around, there's a lot of cars, there is traffic to deal with, and so it's not going to be the quietest neighborhood when you compare it to a place like Kuna or just the outskirts of Eagle. So where we started at in the video, or Hidden Springs, those are places that you are going to have less traffic, more peace and quiet, and less communities. And then you can just drive 10 minutes into Eagle or Meridian or Star to do the things you need to do. Now I'm taking a right to get off the highway to kind of take you through downtown area. So we'll drive to downtown. I want to talk about some of the restaurants in downtown because they've recently got a number of them. And then actually, I'm going to first talk about something that really hits on the conservative feel of Boise. So in downtown Eagle, there's a bar called the Old Saloon, I believe. And for the month of June, they do a heterosexual month. So this bar owner came out in Eagle, and during what is Pride Month, he came out with heterosexual month. And so if you're a straight male on Mondays, you get a free beer. If you are a straight female on Wednesdays, you get like half price wine or a free wine, something like that. Then another day, if you come in with your spouse or your boyfriend or girlfriend, you get half off your drinks. And then there's another day where they do something similar. So just kind of a localized point on how conservative the Boise area is. And then some of the other restaurants too, just in Eagle, you have a really good seafood place that just opened up. There's a really good Mexican place. The restaurant here in Eagle, that is one of my favorites, is called Crave, and we'll drive by that later. But a lot of high-end restaurants and lots of choices in Eagle, even more so than I'd say Meridian. Even though Eagle is a lot smaller than Meridian by population and even size, you almost have more opportunities for nicer restaurants. There's Coins out here, there's Bardonnay, so you get a lot of opportunities for really good restaurants. Meridian obviously has a lot of restaurants, especially with it having the Village, but I'd say there's more of the like fast casual style, so your Fancy Freeze, your Five Guys, your In-N-Out, things like that. Meridian's going to have more of, but Eagle has, and it also has more of an old town feel. So again, we're stuck in traffic out here in Eagle. So when we get to downtown, you guys will get to see it has kind of that old style downtown section. Okay, now we're back after waiting for quite a few minutes. But one thing too is like when you're moving to a suburb, what if you move to Eagle, what do the locals or other communities view Eagle as, or what does it look like? And we've talked about the outdoor space, so they look at Eagle as definitely the prettier part of Boise. It's just more eye appealing. I'd say, like I mentioned earlier, it is just viewed as the wealthier part of Boise. So if you say, hey, I live in Eagle, there's pretty much an assumption that like, okay, they might be wealthier. The median income here is like $30,000 higher than the other suburbs. The median home price is like $200,000 higher than the rest of the suburbs. So there is that part of it. But with that said, when you live in Eagle, there's still a really strong sense of community. So they have Eagle Fun Days in the summer where they have parades, community building, things like that. But I'd say the more important part of community that is here in Eagle is not only the firefighters and police officers that I mentioned that have moved to Eagle. But Eagle is definitely, I'd say, a higher concentration of Californians. So sometimes I talk about in other videos that there are some locals here that aren't so welcoming. The very minority of Boise people are that way. But in Eagle, you might be able to build a much quicker community because you're gonna have a lot more concentration of people who have moved to Eagle from California, and so you can build that. If you're from Oregon or Washington, that could be a problem. So keep that in mind with the community side of things. And again, we're gonna have to go around more construction, but we just drove through the downtown area, so you can see it was really small, but it's starting to get a little bit more luxury. So this new development right here that we just drove by to our left, it has like $1 million condos in there, and then there's gonna have really nice retail space underneath. And so we're getting things like that. There's also communities out here that are being developed that are 5-10 acres just outside of town, not too far down the road, where you're getting 5, 10, $20 million houses. So Eagle was luxury, but now we're starting to get even more ultra luxury of what you would literally see in like Beverly Hills in California. And so that's another part of it, but wanted to touch on that while we were downtown. And then now we're this is like an old part of Eagle, so we just drove through downtown, and because of construction, we can't get on Eagle Road to make this simpler, but there are homes in here that are built in the 70s, the 80s, and you can even see like the retail space is a little bit older. But no matter where we have been at in Eagle, you guys can see the trees, the foliage, the mature landscaping. You don't get this in any other suburb other than Boise. Meridian doesn't have it, Kuna doesn't have it, Star doesn't have it, and so it's, again, just one of the big pros of living in Eagle. And now we'll fast forward you guys again, and we'll just get out of the car and walk around the main city center that's just outside of downtown that we got cut off by construction, and dive into some of the outdoor activities, more of the lifestyle, and then I'm gonna go through some of the other cons and reasons why you guys might not think Eagle would be the best fit for you. And then right after that, just want to drive you through another community and another section of Eagle that is the most desirable part of it, the reason that Eagle started the way it did, and why it is so beautiful. So we'll jump into walking along the greenbelt in the other main part of Eagle. Okay, now we parked, and you guys can see we parked literally right here to jump on the greenbelt. We're right off Eagle Road, and there's a number of these spots in Eagle that allow you to park, get on the greenbelt, and then from the greenbelt, you guys can actually get on a bike or run or walk from here all the way through Boise. You can even get all the way up into the mountains from here. So for those of you who might like to cycle, things like that, you have access all the way along it. And it's just one of the big pros of Eagle is this outdoor access, and we'll show you up here when we get to the Boise River. Some of the other outdoor things that I mentioned earlier was the Eagle Bike Park. So you can take your mountain bike out there, do jumps, there's trails, there's a ton of hiking trails in the foothills there. You can go all the way up into Avamore where there's more hiking trails. There's UTV and ATV trails as well. So lots of access into the outdoors with that stuff. And then to the left of Eagle over here is Eagle Island State Park. So there's a state park in Eagle that has a pond, you can fish, there's a beach there to hang out. You can take your horses there. In the wintertime, I think it's really cool. They actually bring a snowmaker out there, and they make a snow hill so you can go tubing and hang out and have something to do in the wintertime, because a lot of times in Boise, a lot of these outdoor activities, they go away in the winter when it's cold for a few months. And so to have access to that in Eagle is actually a really nice thing to have versus having to drive all the way up to Bogus Basin an hour to hit their tubing hill. You have access to that right here in Eagle, Idaho. And now we're kind of heading up to the Boise River right now. And you guys could see that the Eagle Road is right next to us. You can hear the cars driving by. But even though you're on the busiest road in all of Idaho, you can hop right on the greenbelt, and in 1 minute, you're away from everything. You feel quiet. The other thing about Eagle is it has more communities than any other suburb that have direct access to the greenbelt. So to the left side over here, and then behind you guys, all of these communities, which one of them we're gonna drive through, which is the most prestigious part, is you have homes that in your back door or in your community, you can hop right on the Boise greenbelt, and you could bike all the way to Boise if you wanted without even getting out of your car. You just leave your house. So lots of things in Eagle that other suburbs just do not have. And a lot of the things that I say where suburbs are the most important part, these videos hopefully give you guys an idea and show you visuals of what they look like. But if there's things that I might have missed that are personal to your situation, I can't talk about every little minute detail. Otherwise, these videos will be even longer than this one is already. So reach out to me, shoot me a text if you guys have questions on those things. But now right here, so I actually proposed to my wife right over there. It's a really popular spot for photography. And then to this side, so this is the other main city center. And for any of you guys visiting, these hotels are absolutely outstanding to stay in because you're right on the Boise River, you're in Eagle, and even if you are buying a house in Kuna or you're visiting just to explore, this is a really good spot to book your hotel because it's just a cool place to stay and actually feel like a vacation. Then the downtown area is right there. You have your hospital right over here too. So Bardney, more restaurants, lots of access, all right in the city center. And then if you take Eagle Road, which we're about to do, you get right into Meridian in 5 minutes, and then the village is 7 minutes from here. So we'll save you from the noise. We're gonna hop back in the car, drive down Eagle Road, talk to you guys more about some of the things to watch out for in Eagle, and then show you the top spots in Eagle. Everybody wants to live there, and drive through that community, and then talk about another new section of Eagle here in a second. So let's get back in the car. Okay, now we're hopping back on Eagle Road and heading into, we're gonna drive you through one of the most popular communities, but on either side of this road, going towards Meridian on Eagle, you can see just how awesome the landscaping is. And you have two sections of the Boise River in between all of these. And so you just get the best landscaping. You have Green River or Greenbelt access to the Boise River on either side of your communities. You're gonna see how amazing the communities are when we drive through it. You're a minute to Eagle. Meridian is just up the hill, so you're 5 minutes to the village. You're so close to everything. But this also brings me to the point with Eagle where if you're a person who really loves to be able to have a lot of things to do, you like to go to concerts, you like to go to Topgolf, you like to go to shopping, and you want it close, you want a lot of the activities and things like that, Eagle is not the best for that. Boise and Meridian would be. If you're someone who wants a really small suburb, you want it to be quiet, you don't want there to be a lot of things to do, you want a lot of farmland, then Eagle is also not going to be for you. Those are some of the big cons. Eagle is one of the best mix of small town and larger amenities. So it's like a mix of Meridian, Idaho and Kuna, Idaho, as an example. Okay, now we are in Two Rivers. So this is just one of about 5 communities in this whole section. And Grant, let's show them the map on my, you guys can see all these lakes that you can see on the map. You get water access on almost every single house. And then as we're driving through here, you guys can just see the canopy of trees. Absolutely outstanding, gorgeous place to live. And these communities are some of the most desirable places because of what I mentioned, where you have beautiful homes, beautiful landscaping, but the location is absolutely killer because you're in between the Boise River and you're 5 minutes to everything. And as a kid in high school, I used to sneak in here and fish for bass because all of those lakes that you guys saw, they have really big bass in them. And so even at lunch in high school, I would come out here to lunch, fish for 20 minutes, and then drive back to Rocky Mountain in Meridian, which also just shows how close it is to Meridian and all of the amenities that we started this entire video at. And now you guys can see some homes here in Eagle, more of the same. So these are older homes. So this community was built a long time ago, but a lot of the same things in Eagle. Now, if Eagle was not your jam, if this was not something that you guys necessarily think would be a good fit, or you want something that is similar but a little bit smaller, then watch this video right here. Me and Grant do the same thing. We go through Star, Idaho. We give you all of the amenities, all of the pros and cons, all of the things you need to know if it's the right fit for you. And I think Star has some even cooler outdoor activities that we show you guys in that video. So check that out. Look forward to meeting you guys in person.